Welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy. I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. Today I'm going to talk to another uniquely underrated film starring Rosamund Pike, Jamie Dornan, Stanley Tucci. It's a private war, and it's a autobiographical war drama, I think based off a war correspondent and journalist, Marie Colvin, and her pretty much her life and her quest to try to understand the conflict that arises. I think I was in Arabia overseas, and really trying to spread out the truth that's what's happening in a war-torn country. And I'm going to tell you, this movie was actually pretty good. What I really, really liked about it was I really liked how they were able to kind of mess with her, dive into her psyche a little bit, her kind of like psychological struggle going out there, giving out these reports and experiencing such just horrific sights. And there are some horrific and actually sometimes scary scenes in this film where she goes out there and reports on these issues, and it gets to the point, if you see in the trailer, she gets injured, she loses an eye, but she still goes out to kind of put out the fight and kind of get the truth out there. What I really thought was really interesting about this film, and this is not really like a war film per se. I'm trying to think of another film that kind of reminds me of where the war scenes were kind of on the back. But it kind of reminds me of Coriolanus a bit, where that's kind of like a war thriller, but it was more on the back burner. It was more on the political things on it. But I think this is more about just this character as a person, and what she was willing to put her life on the line to tell these horrific stories, and to try to get people to hear the civilian stories that are suffering and dealing with it, which is sad and tragic. And it really kind of puts in the question, do people really care about what's happening in other countries and other people suffering? And it's really, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And I think this film has a very inspiring element to it, where you have a character, and it doesn't matter the sexes. It does not. Okay, can that. But you have a character who is willing to risk life and limb to go out and share and express other people's suffering, and to say, we need to solve this issue. And I'm starting to feel like we're seeing less of that in movies now, because this is kind of like an era where you kind of have that political espionage war like movie propaganda from like 2003 to, and I think to now, I guess, because it looks like this one feels like one of the last movies that try to be same to A24's Backstabbing for Beginners, where it deals with a lot of political corruption and espionage and war topics, economic topics, where I feel like a lot of those movies are being made less. I guess there's just been a lack of interest in it. The cinematography in this film was amazing. Parts of it actually felt like a documentary. I think the filmmaker of this movie, he's mainly a documentary filmmaker. So this is, I think, his first narrative film that he's constructed. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a imbalance of genre, because it gets psychological and then it gets very drama heavy. Then there's little war elements where I feel like the filmmaker is able to balance all those genres very well. And it feels more straight to the point. Jamie Dornan, he was great in this. In fact, he's like, for more like serious thrillers, I feel like this is more of his game. I also believe he's kind of like Rosamund Pike. I think he's also the heart of this film. You can see he's like another correspondent joining the main character, trying to help get these stories out, and you see the risk that they take. And it's scary, but it takes a lot of guts and courage to put yourself out there. It's very intense. Based off a true story, A Private War. Have you seen it? Comment below, let me know if you have, and let me know what is your favorite underrated movie.